On the previous episode, we made some great progress in terms of gear, score, and performance. We acquired our 4 set, went boom on the meters, but we still got out damaged by the tank. Due to the Christmas period, this episode's going to be a lot shorter than usual, but I hope you guys enjoy nonetheless. However, when we return, I'm going to look to start pushing into the myth track for the vault, start gaining some score, and getting us closer to Keystone Hero. So today we start with an item level of 452, and our score is 1005. We begin this week by picking up the Time Walking Weekly that rewards you with a normal raid cache. I finished all of those and decided I should continue doing the Emerald Dream Weeklies as well. And because I didn't want to make the same mistake twice, I decided to do LFR before opening the vault. And it's a good job I did, because I got my hands on a juicy Suncaller. I now pretty much have both of my BIS trinkets, albeit a little weird because it's 2 on use and they're both veteran, but still, this Warlock is so lucky. Merry Bismas, everyone. Oh, and just look at the damage, by the way. Why am I 4th? But that sneaky little DK above me, Cognus. Yeah, this guy was stalking me. They did the other wings with me too. I need to change my recording days. Yeah, they knew what they were doing. I'm onto you, man. Now, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the videos, and if you do see me in your groups, you are more than welcome to send me a message. Just no funny business in trying to trade me gear. That breaks the rules, man. After LFR, we headed to the vault to open our weekly caches. From the Emerald Dream Weeklies, we got a Veteran Back and Veteran Shoulders, and from the Time Walking cache, we got Champion Legs. We opened the vault, and this week we have 3 raid slots and 2 dungeon slots. The items we can take this week are a Veteran Neck, which is high on Mastery and a little bit of Haste, a pair of non-tier hands with Haste and Mastery once again, pretty big upgrade, but it is a Veteran piece. Yet again, we had the option of taking some boots with Haste and Mastery. And from the 2 hero dungeon slots, we have wrists with Haste and Verse, and the Time Thief's Gambit trinket with Leech. So I went and did some research, and it turns out the trinket's not very good for me. And the fact that I already have 2 very good trinkets, I'm probably not going to take this one. I did consider the Veteran Gloves because they are the biggest upgrade, but because that was also a Veteran piece, I felt like it just wasn't worth picking up. Because although I might struggle to get into certain groups, I feel like I'm more than capable to run dungeons that can at least offer me champion pieces. So why would I take Veteran? I also feel like I'm more than capable to do dungeons that offer hero pieces, but getting into those groups might be a bit tricky, unless I'm running my own key. So in the end, I decided to take the hero wrists. Do you guys agree with my decision making? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. After the vault, I went and upgraded some gear, and that took us to 456 item level. And the key we pick up this week is an Ataldazar 16. Alright, before we jump into some Mythic Plus today, there was just a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. First things first, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone. I appreciate all the love and support on the previous videos, and I'm overwhelmed by the incredible feedback. I'm super happy that you guys are enjoying the content, but just know there is so much more planned after this one. So be sure to stick around and perhaps even consider subbing to the channel so you never miss an episode. Be sure to also follow me over on Twitch if you want to watch me live. I've planned some exclusive live stream challenges, so you'll get to see the entire process with no cuts and probably some more drama and derps. Now, because of how these videos are created, I recorded the second episode before the first one went live. So I've only just been able to take your feedback on the Warlock and put it into play. That said, however, some of the stuff mentioned had already been fixed. Nonetheless, I very much appreciate it, so be sure to keep all the tips coming. In regards to the rotation, I am feeling more confident, but because I'm only playing the Warlock on Wednesdays, it makes it hard to build up muscle memory. So I'm probably making this more challenging than it should be. There were a few tips about the utility and that I should be using it more. While you guys are absolutely correct and I am trying, let me get comfortable with the rotation and everything else first. But yeah, I'm getting there. Alright, that's all I want to say for now, as I need to keep this short, so let's crack on and talk about my plans for this reset. Alright, so although we do have an Ataldazar 16, which is really nice because it is considered the easiest key this season, time is very limited, and because I can only run a couple of dungeons, I've decided to target 2 in particular because we've not been there yet, and those places are the Everbloom and Fall. So I'm going to have to sign up to some keys and hope that I get invited. But this also means that I may have to lower expectations and apply to lower keys. So the first dungeon we're going to jump in today is a full 16. Yeah, I know, I'm surprised too. I got into a 16. We start this run and I realize I've made a little bit of a mistake, because I don't have any invis potions. Although we are skipping this first pack with Shroud, I highly recommend anyone that jumps into Mythic Plus to be fully prepared with food, runes, health potions, and invis potions. You can get some other stuff like repair bots, but those are the basics. I should have had these ready, but I guess I forgot. Now, when it comes to the rest of the group in terms of item levels, I can't remember what the healer had. The Vengeance Demon Hunter was around 440, pretty low for a 16, but I mean it's doable. And to be fair, they did actually play pretty well, although they had their moments. The BM Hunter was in between 450 and 460, and the Rogue was about 470. So we have a pretty decent comp and we should have more than enough damage. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't really think about this place too much before jumping in, and watching the footage back, my positioning was pretty awful, because you obviously want to drop the pools on the side of the room so that you don't fill up and run out of space, so you probably want to avoid the middle as much as you can. I noticed this at the time as pools are about to come out, and I quickly place a gate. I decide to run to the edge of the room to drop the pool, use the gate, and get back to the middle. Ah, see? I am using utility. Maybe not in the best way, but I'm trying. Another thing to mention in these dungeons is that this week it is tyrannical, incorporeal, and spiteful. So some of these bosses are going to be pretty spicy. These pesky little ghosty boys are going to be really annoying. But the one thing that concerned me the most was the incorporeal, because I had no idea which one of my spells could actually deal with it. I mean, we have a pretty decent group to deal with it, not to mention that the priest can technically deal with both of them, but we shouldn't just rely on the priest. In an ideal world, the priest should perhaps mind control one, and if there are two, then we should have no problems at all, as the demon hunter can imprison the other one. So my thoughts going into this was to pretty much be a backup. That said, because this is a pug, do I really need to explain this? You guys know what it's like. So we were pretty poor in terms of space. We did a pretty bad job of dropping all of the pools, but thankfully we didn't run out of space and we took this boss down. But this wasn't the guy I was scared of. Oh, and my damage output, by the way, I was genuinely shocked at where I was. So I had to check out the Rogue, and I know this fight doesn't favor melee, but when there's like a 20 item level difference, I just felt good about myself, okay? We clear the next arena and we begin taking down the second boss, Manifested Timeways. This was the one I was dreading the most. I was dreading this one the most purely because of how much movement is involved. A really good fight for BM Hunter and Rogue, not so much for me. So this fight, you want to stand in the dark zone as much as you can. When you get the debuff, you move into the light zone to get dispelled. Now, the dispelling part is where players get this wrong. Well, first of all, some dispel in the dark zone. Yeah, don't do this. But also, when a player is dispelled in the light zone, well, you can see that this deals a lot of damage. But it doesn't always have to be that way. A player receives a lot of damage purely because they're moving at the time of being dispelled. If a player is dispelled while standing still in the light zone, you take no damage at all. I bet a lot of you didn't know that. It's fine, I only learnt this recently as well, and I'm nearly 3.2 on my Demon Hunter. The debuff can expire by itself, it doesn't necessarily need dispelling, but it obviously does a bit of damage, and being a Tyran weak, you kinda want to get rid of that pretty quickly. Orbs move a lot faster in the light zone and slower in the dark zone, and you can make your life a hell of a lot easier dodging these by running anti-clockwise. Something the Rogue figured out pretty quickly. The Hunter didn't though. Oof, that looked like it hurt. This fight takes quite a few attempts, but we finally get it down. And I'm not currently enjoying the floor because of my own stupidity. Once again, Dilly got stitched up by another player. We see something similar with the third boss, but I guess it doesn't help when you run away with the debuff and it needs clearing. Good job, Dilly. The tank actually stopped and apologized for this. Don't worry, man, this is all on me. We get to the third boss, everything is going well, Dilly is pumping a lot of damage. I even use my utility and put down a gate to get out of the boss's frontal. But as I go to use it a second time, I don't realize that it's still on cooldown. I'm positioned too far away from the rest of the group anyway, and in situations like this, I should have just stayed and went right. Once again, another positioning error, and I kind of feel at this point, positioning is key when it comes to casters, and I'm terrible at it. Nevertheless, the rest of the group are able to push on and complete this without me. This takes our total rating to 1,219. And you know what? If I stayed alive, I probably would have finished top on damage. The next place on the list is Everbloom, and this one takes me quite a while to get into. And because I failed to get into some of the higher keys, I have to lower expectations and we jump into F14. Now for this one, I believe both the Ret Paladin and the Havoc Demon Hunter are about the same as where I am in terms of item level. The Resto Shaman a little lower, but the Brewmaster was like 480. Would it help in a friend? We get off to a bit of a rough start when I get tag teamed by a couple of ghosty boys. I should really be standing further away, I guess. I am ranged after all. I am also forgetting to use Grimoire of Sacrifice, which I've been better at, and I know a lot of you guys have pointed that sort of thing out. I fixed it after the first episode, but there's still times where I forget. There's not too much to cover on the first boss. There is a little bit of movement, but it's not too bad. But there is a mechanic in this encounter that I presume is more of a ranged thing, and I've never had to deal with it before. That said, I have taken note, and I've noticed while doing this key on my Demon Hunter, that you kind of want to spread this around and use to block the balls from reaching the boss. I think that's how it works anyway. I probably did a very bad job at this, but I very much enjoyed using Seed of Corruption. The second boss, however, Ancient Protectors, is where I run into a bit of an issue and, well, what I did wrong I still need to fix now. Hopefully I don't forget for the next episode, but I couldn't do this on the fly. So I'm still pretty new to Mythic Plus, but there's one thing I do, and something I recommend you guys do as well, and that's to have a focus target macro to obviously put your target as a focus, and then a macro to interrupt your focus target. That way you can prioritize one target in terms of damage, and you can interrupt your focus target without actually having to click on it. So for this encounter we have 2 out of the 3 bosses that don't move. Every once in a while, Tolu, the one on the right, starts casting Toxic Bloom. This really needs to be interrupted. The rest of the cast you can kind of let go through, but obviously when you get to the higher keys you want to try and interrupt them as much as possible. The boss on the left, however, Gola, the spell you need to prioritize interrupting on this one is Revitalize. The only other thing I really need to be aware of is all of the movement, and I kind of struggle with this. But the thing I messed up on the most is the fact that I set my focus target to the one on the left, and not only did I fail to interrupt it because I didn't actually have a focus target macro created, but I also forgot to summon and sacrifice my pet. Yeah, I thought I got better with this in the second episode. Turns out I was wrong. Still doing quite a bit of damage though. This encounter took a couple of attempts, but we finally got these guys down. And now it's time for Archmage Soul. And as the only ranged, well, I guess I got some baiting to do, right? Uh-oh. Now, as someone who's never actually dealt with this encounter as a caster before, I'm actually going to give myself a little bit of credit because I don't think it was horrible, but you can obviously always do better. Demonic Circle is an ability that I really need to start using, and I don't think I've used it once so far. Gate, on the other hand, I'm getting a little bit better with placement, but positioning needs a lot of work. So in my opinion, I managed to bait pretty well. I don't get hit by too many of the abilities, and I'm really impressed with my damage. But the first time we attempt this encounter, maybe the fight goes on for a little too long. I lose focus and concentration. I get the bait positioning a little wrong, and I get pulled into the fire and die. Apart from that little mishaps, I thought I performed pretty well. I actually quite enjoyed the fight too, but that opinion might change when we reach the higher keys. I'll just invite a BM Hunter to do it for me, it's fine. Round 2 went so much better, my positioning was really good, and I was quite impressed with my damage output as well. But now I'm going to show you one of those classic moments, something that you've probably experienced yourself. Because when you go through to the portal to the last boss, well, it starts the encounter. And even though you can see the boss's ability isn't targeting us, the boss certainly is. This never gets old. Thankfully, this boss is less of an issue as the previous 2. The mechanics are dealt with a lot better, and with over 8 minutes over time, we finally finished this key. This took our rating up to 1,398, and we looted a champion staff from the chest. But not only that, maybe for the very first time, I can't remember, we actually finished top on damage. Though because we didn't time it, it didn't really feel like a victory for me. So there we have it. We end this reset with 456 item level and 1,398 score. I just want to say a massive thank you to all of my wonderful Patreons. You can see their names scrolling across the screen as I speak. If you'd like to add your name to this list, I'll leave my Patreon linked in the video description. The Patreon tiers do come with many more benefits, so I highly recommend you go and check it out. Things such as the Bastion sound pack,
Bait.
and the weekly Discord hangouts where we spend a few hours chatting and usually running keys. During one of the recent hangouts, the guys talked me into healing a 13 on a Resto Shaman with 300 item level, and it was certainly interesting. But that is all I have time for today. I hope you guys did enjoy today's episode. If you did, a like would be much appreciated. Consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss another episode, and if you want to watch me live, be sure to go follow me over on Twitch. But that's me done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.